I'm good. Hello and welcome everyone to the 31st uh, annual meeting of North Olympic Land Trust. It is so great to see people for hopefully the last of having to do these things 100% virtual. It is just a real pleasure to have everyone here. I know that things got scheduled. Once we got the schedule, we learned that the city of Port Angeles was having a really important climate change meeting tonight. And I know a few people that are off at that, and I power to them. I really wish I might have been able to be there as well, but these scheduling things happen. And it is so great to see you all. My name is Tom Sanford. I've been here as the executive director for the last 9 years, and it continues to be an absolute honor to serve on behalf of this entire community in our work of permanently conserving the farms, fish, forest habitat for today, tomorrow, and all the future generations. So thank you all. Before we get started, I think it's important for the Land Trust to acknowledge that we work to conserve lands that are on the traditional and ancestral lands of the indigenous people who have lived on the Olympic Peninsula since time immemorial, and continue to be the real leaders in environmental stewardship. We are really deeply appreciative and honored by our relationship with the local tribes, the Jamestown, Clallam, Lower Elwha, Makah, Quileute tribes, the tribal elders, members, and we really seek to learn, listen, and follow in efforts to build a strong, resilient, ecological, economic, and cultural community. So it is just, I think, an amazing thing to keep aware of and to learn about your local tribes and the history and the culture and range. One way you could do that, and Paula, if you wouldn't mind adding this to the chat, is there's a really great website called native-land.ca that when you pull it up, you can see your location and learn all about the tribes and the language groups and such of your area. And I really want to encourage you to check that out. So as we kick this all off, I did want to always start off with these annual gatherings with some thank yous. So first off, I always want to make sure to thank the original 11 board members who got this gig going 31 years ago. That group made things happen. And since that time, there have been 89 community members who have served on the Land Trust board at some point or another over these past 31 years. Simultaneously, there was this group of about 5 people, and then later 39 board members with a group called Friends of the Fields that got itself started in Sequim with that heavy focus on farmland conservation. And those two organizations had a real successful merger then in what was that, 2010. And so the thousands of people that have been involved with these organizations over our history is massive. That includes committee members and stewardship volunteers, participants at events, people that have supported fall harvest celebrations, and then of course the thousands of people across this community who have made financial contributions to the Land Trust and keep this all going. We definitely receive some state and, oh, my screen froze, some state and fiscal support, but it's really the generous day-to-day folks that make it all happen. So with that, I do need to figure out how to unfreeze my screen. I'm still presenting well, aren't I? Oh, good, thank you. Well, without being able to scroll forward in my notes, we're just gonna keep on moving. So I did wanna make sure to, the next slide I know, or the next notes for myself, really gave me a list of all of the different groups and sponsors that really help make these things happen. And I am going to go ahead and say that later when I can actually look at the list and get it right. But what I am going to do is give you a quick update on some Zoom etiquette for this call. And that is, you'll note we're keeping folks on mute tonight. Please feel free to have your camera on, but we're going to keep you on mute just so if a dog or an ambulance goes by and things like that, there's not a lot of background noise. And we then, but if you have a thought or a question, please feel free to use the chat function, which is down there at the bottom of your screen. And then we're going to go through a little presentation. And at the end, if folks have questions, we can take people off mute and we can start a conversation then. So that's a little bit of Zoom etiquette. And then I also wanted to make sure to, I'm visualizing my piece of paper I can't see. I wanted to make sure to give you a sense of how this is going to work tonight. So the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to hear a presentation from the Clallam Conservation District, who's talking about the work between our two organizations and some of the great things happening there. I am very excited at that point to then give out the 8th annual Gary Colley Legacy Award. Looking forward to that. And then to wrap things up, I want to share a bit about what's going on with the land trust and give you an update on some things. And I have some slides I want to share. And then, like I said, we can have a bit of a conversation as people need. And it is so wonderful to have people on board also that can suddenly fix things. And so thank you, Delana, for printing my notes. And so I will then go ahead and I want to make sure to thank some sponsors and people that make all of this happen. And in the last year, that includes business sponsors like Botanica, Natural Systems Design, Peninsula Environmental Group, Koenig Subaru, Windrose Cellars, Squim Valley Properties, Susie Schuneman at John L. Scott, Ennis Arbor Farm, customers of Sunny Farms, and I always need to make sure to say Sound Community Bank that has provided us with this office to work from and just makes a lot of things possible. Also want to make sure to thank our foundations and nonprofit supporters like the Burning Foundation, the Horizon Foundation, the Jamestown Clallam Tribe, the Land Trust Alliance, and through them, the Doris Duke Charitable Fund, the Olympic Wilderness Foundation, the Port Angeles Garden Club, funders like the state of Washington and the Recreation and Conservation Office, the USDA with their CREP program administered by the Conservation District. I could go on, and I can tell you that in the next year, we're going to actually be adding even more funders as the opportunities are really diversifying in some of these state and governmental programs. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass things over. And like I said, I'm excited that we are able to see a presentation that's been put together for us tonight by our friends Kim Williams and Meghan Adamire at the Clallam Conservation District. And with that, we'll pass things off and take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kim Williams, and I am the manager at the Clallam Conservation District. And we wanted to hop in here today and talk about the ways in which we partner with the North Olympic Land Trust. Today, we're going to talk about our CREP program, which is our riparian restoration program. First, a little bit about us. We are a non-regulatory subdivision of the state government. We were created in 1959 to help land users conserve and protect natural resources. We provide technical and financial assistance to help meet land use objectives. And we are governed by a 5-member board of supervisors. In the spring, we have several positions open for our board of supervisors. So if you're interested in joining the Conservation District team, give us a call and we can help you with that. Our CREP program stands for Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, and it is our riparian buffer program where we help land users plant native plant communities along stream banks. This planting along the stream banks helps to stabilize stream banks and reduces erosion. Planting a strong native plant community along the stream banks provides shade, which reduces river temperatures, which is important for our salmon. And this helps, when the trees grow up, it helps to create in-stream wood or long-term woody debris. This in-stream wood is critical salmon habitat. It provides hiding places, resting places in stream. It reorganizes the gravel, so you have pools and spawning areas, and it's just all around good for salmon habitat. Riparian buffers also filter runoff from overland flow or help filter nutrients. And it also provides a source of food and shelter for wildlife. And also, a strong native plant community helps to control weeds, and they outcompete the weeds, which can be a really big problem, especially with reed canary grass along our riparian buffers. So our conservation planner, Meghan Adamire, she manages and enrolls people in CREP. And so I will turn it over to her to talk a little bit more about the details of CREP.
Thank you, Kim. Hi, I'm Meghan Adamire, and I've been working for the Conservation District for about 20 years now, and I've been helping landowners enroll in the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program for about 12 or 13 years now. So this program is just such a neat program for our area, and it is a program that is Washington statewide. So landowners all throughout Washington have an opportunity to enroll in this program. It is specifically designed for agricultural lands, whether that be past or present. So if there's land that has had a history of being pasture for animals or hayland or row crops, it's eligible for the CREP program if it doesn't already have a riparian buffer along waterways. So the buffers that we can offer for folks, they range from 15 feet on small waterways or ditches up to 180 feet for large rivers and streams. So there's kind of a broad width of buffers that we can offer there. And I'm happy to help you if you have a waterway that you think might be eligible for this program. We can look at it and I can let you know some of the buffer options for that. So one of the great pieces about this program is that 100% of the planting costs are covered for landowners. So landowners don't have to pay for any of the plants, the site preparation, the planting, or the tree protectors to protect the trees. That's all covered by the program. The program also covers funding for 5 years of maintenance, and that's often done by a Washington Conservation Corps crew, or WCC crew, as we call them. And I arrange with them to come out and help a landowner with the maintenance piece for up to 5 years. So it really gets a great establishment on these buffers. And in Clallam County, we currently have 35 buffers enrolled on different parcels around the county. And that's about 10.39 miles of stream and 138 acres of riparian buffers that have been enrolled in this program. And the land completely remains with the landowner. There's no easements or anything. It's basically you're just growing a crop of trees, and that's why this program works, is because it's designed for agricultural users to help them install these buffers at no cost to them. And there is a slight financial incentive for landowners as well in the form of a rental payment. So I'm happy to help folks if they are interested in this program, and I can get you all those details. So now we're specifically going to talk about the CREP program as it relates to the Lyre Conservation Area that is the North Olympic Land Trust's area out past Joyce. And back in 2016, the Land Trust approached me about installing a riparian buffer on this land that they had purchased. And they had worked with the Lower Elwha Clallam tribe to remove a home site that had been on this 200-acre piece of property. And once the home site was removed, they realized that there really was a need for a riparian buffer out there along Nelson Creek, which is a tributary to the Lyre River. So they approached the Conservation District about enrolling in the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program. There had been a past history of cattle use and hay out here at this site, so it was eligible. And so we worked with them to plant 3.45 acres in the CREP program along Nelson Creek. And we put in 1,725 native plants. So when we do these CREP plantings, we typically plant about 500 stems per acre. year. Usually 200 of those are conifers, 200 deciduous trees, and 100 are shrubs, so that we really have some great pollinator species in there with our deciduous trees and shrubs. And then with our conifers, we have some great long-term woody debris, as Kim mentioned, which is important for rivers and streams and fish habitat. So that is what we did out there. And in these photos, this gal with the WCC crew, she's planting right by the bridge. So if you go to the site and you walk over the bridge and you look to both the left and right hand sides, you can see all the trees that have been planted out there. And then this other photo is kind of when you're looking out toward Canada at this site, and that field all out there is planted as well. And this project was a 180-foot buffer from the top of the bank of Nelson Creek back out into the field that we planted at the Lyre. So one of the things that can be seen on site is a lot of these blue tubes, and these are tree protectors, which don't necessarily help from deer or elk damage to the plants, but they help with keeping the plants from being girdled or chewed on at the base by small rodents and mice and things. The other thing that they do is they protect the trees when the crew comes out to do maintenance. So when they're weed whacking and they are having a hard time seeing the plants, this will help protect the plants from the weed whackers. It'll hit the tree tubes instead. And it's also a great way to be able to locate our plants when they're in grassland plantings like this as well. And so if you go to the site and you see any of these tree protectors that have kind of been knocked over by wind or animals, feel free to straighten them up and kind of push them down into the soil a little bit to help them kind of maintain their integrity. Sometimes they'll get knocked over and kind of lean a plant over with them. And so we appreciate any help in just making sure that these tree protectors stay nice and straight on the trees and don't damage the trees. So out here at the Lyre, we've had a few challenges with getting trees established, and these are just common problems that we have on many sites. One is with beaver damage. So you can see on that photo there to the right-hand side, a beaver actually came and chewed off that western red cedar right there at the top of the tree protector. They really like the taste of western red cedar, so we have a hard time growing western red cedar at sites that have beaver or deer or elk, because they all really like to eat this tree. So one of the things that we do in order to kind of help make sure we have enough conifers out there is we put quite a few Sitka spruce when it's appropriate on site. That is one of the conifers that's fairly resistant to deer, elk, or beaver damage. And so you will notice out there on the Lyre, we've had to put quite a few spruce trees in order to combat this little beaver who's coming along and chewing on a lot of the plants. The WCC crew, as shown in the photo here, they have come out and done 5 years of maintenance out here at the site. And one of the things they've had to really tackle is a lot of reed canary grass. And reed canary grass is that tall grass. It gets about 6-7 feet tall. You'll see it as you walk over the bridge. It's there on the right-hand side of the Lyre and just very, very tall. And it's in other areas as well. So they've done a great job weed whacking it and keeping these trees free of the vegetation growing around them that can really choke them out if it falls over the top and keep the trees from growing. So that's another one of the challenges we've had at the site. And there is a little bit of Himalayan blackberry that we also had to have the crew knock back as well. That can be very hard to establish trees in since it's so thick. But our crews do a great job of weed whacking it down, and then oftentimes do just a small little bit of spraying to try to keep that at bay so that it doesn't kill our trees. So if you'd like to visit the CREP planting on the Lyre Conservation Area, it's about a 1 mile parking lot, a 1 mile walk, I'm sorry, from the parking lot on Reynolds Road. And that's about 20 miles west of Port Angeles, just a little bit past Joyce. So when you walk down from the parking lot, you'll cross the bridge and you'll see the plantings there as you're walking out towards the beach on both your right and left-hand side. And it's just a lovely area down there to go visit. I highly recommend it. Again, if you have any questions about the CREP program, please let me know and I'm happy to talk to you about it more. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Kim to wrap up.
Hey, thank you. So if you feel like you might be eligible for CREP, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We offer free technical assistance and we can help you figure that out. And if you are a landowner or just anybody who wants to increase the native plants on your land and just enhance your landscaping, we have an annual native plant sale. Our annual native plant sale is a place where you can buy bulk, bare root native plants. And the best way to purchase these plants is on our website. Our native plant sale store opens November 24th of this year. So don't hesitate to give us a call and check out our website if you need any help. Thanks for listening to us and have a good meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kim and Megan, for that presentation. And as you can tell, that was pre-recorded based on Megan's was sitting in the daylight behind her was the dead giveaway on that. But thank you. It is such a pleasure to sit and work with our friends at the Conservation District who just do so much on the behalf of this community. And it's just one of the great, strong partners we all get a chance to work with every day. And Kim and Megan are two of the real rock stars in this community. So it's really, really lovely. So with that, I'm excited to move into something we got started about 8 years ago. And for a number of years, our organization had been doing awards with Friends of the Fields for our Farmer of the Year. And then we were thinking about things and really wanted to make sure that we were honoring others in the community that were really having a large impact in the field of conservation. So at our conservation breakfast, we began this new award called Outstanding in the Field, and really externally honoring folks that were doing amazing things. And we also noted, though, that there have been a number of people that have just had a huge impact on the land trust. And the land trust is really, the annual meeting each year is really the opportunity for the land trust faithful to all come together and to look at the work and to celebrate what's been done. And so we began this thing called the Gary Colley Legacy Award. Now, Gary Colley was the founder of the land trust. It was the one that got this nugget in his head and sitting in some park planning commission meetings and brought the 11 people together that got this all going 31 years ago. And the idea of this award is really to honor folks that have a legacy. Their work lasts beyond them and has an ongoing impact that will matter for this organization who makes promises of forever. It really will make sure that those folks, these are folks that are making that kind of legacy impact. And to give you an idea of that, some of the people that includes in the past, the first one went to our beloved John Willits. That was founded by, second was really honoring all of the folks that founded the boards of North Olympic Land Trust and Friends of the Fields. We honored Jim and Robbie Mantooth, who I see here. Y'all can wave, hello. We honored a number of years ago. We also then made sure to honor the stewardship crew, the people that are taking their time every week to be out on land trust properties, doing amazing work and stewardship to keep them healthy and having an impact for generations to come. After that, we honored Harry Lyre, who had passed away, and this was really honoring Harry for his impact in, he's the landowner that has the most property conserved by the land trust that he owns. He's also one that really helped to make sure that the ongoing working force of our community are able to be there and with strong private working force. And we also honored the Harvest Dinner Planning Committee, that group of folks that volunteers that just make the magic of Harvest Dinner happen each year. And then finally, last year, we had a chance for our 30th birthday to honor Gary Colley himself with the Gary Colley Legacy Award, which was very fun. And today, it is my extreme pleasure to present this year's Gary Colley Legacy Award to Lorrie Mittmann. Lorrie has been a resident on the North Olympic Peninsula for almost 20 years and operates with a desire to make this peninsula an amazing place to live, work, and recreate. Lorrie first came to the Land Trust and as a part-time employee in 2007 as part of a very, one of our first kind of runs with employees in this effort to streamline the organization's conservation easement documentation. Over the years, her role really evolved and developed, and she began to work side by side with volunteers to monitor a number of our conservation easements across the county. And soon, she was responsible for monitoring all of what the now organization has of 78 conservation easements across the county. And she's the one that built systems that ensure that the Land Trust, when we make a promise and say we're going to meet this obligation forever, she was one that really helped to create a lot of the systems that are used today, building off of the prior work of some volunteers. And Lorrie then really helped to ingrain that into our organization. Oh, that's my own echo. Sorry about that. And so as a result, a little bit later, the Land Trust suddenly started owning a couple pieces of property that were pretty big. One being Elk Creek, I think that really put our land ownership on the map in a different way. And Lorrie, who had been running volunteer programs with the county before she came to the Land Trust, said, well, hey, I kind of know how to do that stuff too. And the next thing you know, Lorrie's now also managing all of the properties the Land Trust owns and was the employee that led the process of getting Elk Creek up and running and open to the public, and later the Lyre conservation area prepped and ready and open to the public. There were a number of other properties as well. Seabrook Creek was a ton of work that Lorrie helped make happen, as well as the Pished conservation area. And all of that was because of her leadership. She also was key in helping us to become accredited in 2012 and reaccredited in 2017. So during Lorrie's 9 years with the Land Trust, she really took this organization to a completely different place and made sure when we make the promise of perpetuity, it can be met. And it's through her work as the Land Trust easement steward and land manager, the building of this cadre of outstanding volunteers who continue to be vital in building a community that cares about this amazing place, that we are now doing for the first time giving this award to a staff member, because we're at that stage where we're starting to look back in our time where we started to have professional staff, and that is really the legacy for this organization. And so with that, it is my supreme pleasure to honor and introduce to you all and honor Lorrie Mittmann with the 2021 this is the Gary Colley Legacy Award. And with that, I introduce to you Lorrie, and you can use your little applause things on there because she can't hear the standing ovation. Come on up, Lorrie. Lorrie.
Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you all. I'm looking forward to when I can see you in person again someday. And that was a really great intro, Tom. So when Tom first called me and said I was getting this award, I was like, wow, that's really great. And I was really surprised, and it's pretty cool. And then a couple of days later, I started thinking about a legacy award and started feeling a little bit old, like that word legacy. Does that mean I'm old? So I decided to look it up on good old Webster's dictionary. And this is legacy as an adjective is, the first one is relating to or being a previous or outdated computer system. Okay, I'm not that. That's good. Number two, carried over from a previous time. Okay, that might be true. It doesn't really mean old though, right? So there's that. But what I really like is the definitions of legacy as a noun. So the first one is a gift by will, especially of money or other personal property. Well, that's not me, but that's something I hope everybody gives to the Land Trust. So make sure you all do that. Number 2 is something transmitted by or received from an ancestor or predecessor from the past. Well, that's not me, but I can think of a lot of people from the past who have transmitted or given to me a lot of knowledge about the land trust, about life. And so I want to thank them, a lot of them who are on this call, people I've learned from and everything. So I really thank the predecessors of the land trust for helping me get to where I am now. And then the last definition of legacy as a noun is a candidate for membership in an organization. And I'm really proud to be a member of the recipients of the Gary Colley Legacy Award. I mean, John Willits, who I miss so much. Gary and Jim and Robbie, who I look forward to seeing you guys again at some point. And of course, the stewardship crew, which is near and dear to my heart. So that's it. Thanks.
Lorrie, I wish we were at, in a place where suddenly the crowd is up and roaring and we lift you on our shoulders and parade you around. But I am been such an honor to work with you. And I meant to say in my introduction, one of the things that I am so impressed with is we lost Lorrie working in the organization because Lorrie started her own company. And it is a company that is inviting people to come to the Olympics, enjoy the beauty of this place in sport and competition, and building economy with thousands of heads and beds and people eating at restaurants and all of this kind of stuff in a non-extractive way. And that is the future of our community, is ways we can grow and build our ecology and use our ecology to build our economy, and in the process grow culture. And that's what your business is all about. And I'm just so impressed, and thank you. So I made sure to write my things out so I would get a little teary because I am so proud to work with you. So thank you so much. Keep up the great work. I'm really excited. And so with that, what I'd like to do is move into the next section of our presentation. And this is the part where really giving you an update on what the Land Trust has been up to in the last year. Now, it's always important to, when you do this, to first say, well, what the organization is. And let's be honest, I could talk about it all day, and it's even better though if we can take a look at a 5-minute video that was created about a year ago by John Gussman that talks about the organization. You may have seen this before. I've seen it a number of times, and I have to admit, every time I watch it, I'm like, haha, this is an amazing place. So with that, Delana, if you can go ahead and hit play on the video, and away we go.
Thinking about our history of how we're all of one and we all gather united, no matter where we come from, no matter what color we are, but what can we do today to make it plentiful.
Since 1990, the North Olympic Land Trust has worked on behalf of the North Olympic Peninsula community to conserve this place we love. We know that by conserving land for farms, fish, and forests, it will pay direct dividends back to our own quality of life. In our first 30 years, the Land Trust has permanently protected over 3,500 acres, including over 670 acres of local farmland, 13 river miles of quality stream and river habitat, and 1,865 acres of forest lands, including over 460 acres of working forests. As we move into the next 30 years, together we will face emerging challenges. Our stewardship of this place we love can help us maintain and restore a healthy environment, economy, and culture. Since the 1850s, much of our area has been defined by our farms. On the prairies, in and around what is now Squim, over 75,000 acres were cultivated as recently as the 1940s. Over the decades, subsistent homesteads evolved into dairies and farmers growing high-quality seed for farms across the country. Today, while our community has lost over 75% of our productive farmland, what remains provides high-quality fresh produce and products enjoyed by local families, as well as folks across the water in Seattle and beyond. Following in the footsteps of our predecessor, Friends of the Fields, the Land Trust focuses on providing this community with secure access to fresh local food and supporting local farm families. In the Pacific Northwest, ecosystem health is directly tied to the vitality of its local rivers and streams. The best indicator for river health in our area is its ability to provide vital salmon habitat. Over these past 30 years, the Land Trust has worked with local tribes and other partners to protect over 13 miles of the community's riverways. In early 2020, this included the permanent conservation of River's Edge along the Dungeness River. In partnership with the Jamestown Clallam tribe, over 100 acres along the Dungeness River was protected, some ideal for farming, some for restoring river habitat. This effort preserves vital farmland, creates fabulous spawning habitat for the salmon, in turn helping feed local orca, and maintains access for the public to enjoy its incredible beauty. Similar efforts have worked to save lands along familiar waterways like Ennis, Seabird, Salt, and Elk Creeks, as well as the Pisht, Clallam, and Kalawa rivers. With dam removal completed, the Land Trust seeks to protect critical salmon habitat along the 6 miles of the Elwha River between the Olympic National Park and the Strait of Juan de Fuca. In this community, our forests are key to our ecology, economy, and culture. These lands provide valuable timber, bird and wildlife habitat, and carbon storage. In addition, places like the Land Trust's Lyre Conservation Area west of Port Angeles allows visitors to refresh in nature in a beautiful forest and stunning shoreline. The Elk Creek Conservation Area, just outside of Forks, gives locals a peaceful streamside walk minutes from the center of town. Over the past 30 years, our community has experienced significant change. Steadfast, the Land Trust has been there to help conserve places that matter to us most. As we look forward, we know significant changes are ahead, some that we know and others beyond what we can imagine. The Land Trust remains committed to being a permanent fixture in this community, helping us move forward as our best selves to maintain and restore the things we love most about our home. Luckily, we have a community that is passionate about our homes and has proved itself willing to invest their time and money while sharing their stories and passions as ambassadors on behalf of this place. Share your love for where you live. Learn more and support your local land trust at northolympiclandtrust.org.
One of the real treasures of this Olympic Peninsula, I'm coming to learn, is John Gussman. He can create a video that shows the magic of this place like nobody else. It's such a pleasure to work with him. Also want a big thanks to Lee Strucker, who did the narration on that, and real pleasure to work with him on that as well. So I hope that gives you a good sense of your land trust, and if you and the work that we're doing here in the community. I want to look down for a second because I need to start a slideshow. Oh, I need to share my slides first. Share, this is the one thing I had to do today and I didn't want to screw it up. Oh, no, not that one. Share from the beginning. Ah, okay. It's just, it's such an amazing place that we get to live. And so what I wanted to do was use that as a way of saying, okay, well, hey, here's who we are, where we've been. But now I want to drive in a little bit more and really look at what's gone on here over the last year, including this beautiful photo by John Gussman here at the mouth of the Dungeness River, looking down toward Three Crabs, Meadowbrook, and a lot of conserved land here in the lower Dungeness. So in the past year, we continue to really be here to conserve land and natural resources that are the foundation of our culture, our economy, our way of life. This is, I believe, the last meeting that I will be introducing this slide of saying, this is our through 2021 strategic plan. I'm excited for the December 2nd board meeting where the board is going to approve an update to this plan. But this really will continue to be the heart of it, an organization that is conserving lands, natural areas, working lands that define and sustain our community, ensuring we have a community and helping to build a community land ethic that is going to take care of these lands. And then an organizational culture and an organization that's built to be around for the long run. Land trusts make promises for perpetuity. It's kind of audacious. It's just saying we're going to be here forever. And I think we're one of the few nonprofits that do that. And as a result, you really need to build a financial model that can sustain that. So the real big picture, there are about 1,400 land trusts across this entire country. And there are the big organizations such as the Nature Conservancy, and there are regional land trusts, and then pretty much every single community has their land trust, the ones that are able to really work hand in glove with the community to find the places that matter and to help them be magical. And I love this photo by David Woodcock because the picture here of the lower Dungeness, this is a picture that because of these partners and because of the work like this is going to look like this forever. About 80% of the land in this photo is permanently protected. And that is really an example of the power of this kind of private land conservation. You'll note the land accreditation seal that's right next to it. The land trust was accredited by the Land Trust Accreditation Commission in 2012, reaccredited in 2017, and we'll be going through the process again next year and have our kickoff phone conversation tomorrow. So that's going to be a very exciting effort. So the properties are all across the community. Here's a nice visual that shows you where each of these properties are. You'll note we were just looking at Lower Dungeness and that cluster there, and then these stretches along rivers like Seabrook Creek and the Dungeness and the Elwha, and amazing places like the Lyre conservation area, which we had just heard about from the CREP program. But total, that's over 670 acres of local farmland, and that's on 20 different farms. It also includes 14 miles of stream and river habitat, 1.5 miles along the Strait of Juan de Fuca, a great deal, 330 acres of local wetlands. The real heart of the ecosystems are these wetland areas, and 1,940 acres that are forested, including 460 that are in working timber. And this all leads to 92 acres of property that are protected, over almost 3,700 acres. And I always want to make sure to highlight to folks properties you can go to. All this information can be found on our website, northolympiclandtrust.org. But you are in for a great day if you go off and head out to the suburbs of Forks and check out the Elk Creek Conservation Area. Head out, actually, you can make it to the Pish today, but you couldn't go much further thanks to a recent landslide just west of Clallam River. But the Pish Conservation Area is another gem. The incredible Lyre Conservation Area and Seabrook Creek between Port Angeles and Sequim that has just had some really lovely work done on and has really turned into just a gorgeous mid-growth forest. And here we are now at Seabrook Creek. One of the things I've just been excited about this year is we've got volunteers back in the field. 2020 was a pretty quiet year, but here we've got a crew of folks building and improving some trail at Seabrook Creek Conservation Area with a new little overlook area and just some improvements and stand. We also did some thinning and stand health work there. One of the things that I've been really proud about in this last year was an effort funded by the Land Trust Alliance, the Doris Duke Charitable Fund, and our donors in a partnership with our friends at the Jefferson Land Trust to a detailed analysis and a mapping exercise to look at how is this community going to change with climate change over the next 50 years. We hired a consultant that came in. And these are just 5 maps I thought you might find interesting. Last year, our presenter at this, like the Conservation District this year, was our GIS analyst, and he does a good job kind of talking about the upcoming impacts. But we had him look at things like you can see here, really targeting what are the working farm opportunity areas and how are those going to change with their abilities around water access, for example, in the years ahead with climate. We took a deep look at what are the lands that are going to remain resilient for wildlife, and what are ones that are not protected by whether it's the National Park Service and other things where we ought to really be focusing efforts. We did a deep dive into carbon sequestration and where are the forests that have the most ability to turn atmospheric carbon into wood. And that the North Olympic Peninsula is probably one of the absolute best places on the planet to do carbon sequestration. And if we want to try to have an impact there, that's probably one of the places we could have the most impact. I also find this map down here in the corner really interesting. It is a map that I'll just tell you what it says. It says that by 2070, 2090, anywhere that's red is an area that may not see frost over the course of an average year. And if you start to think about the power of frost and what does it do to insect populations, what does it do to growing patterns and such, I think we have a lot of questions to understand what is the impact of a frostless lower lands of the peninsula. That's going to be some interesting work here in the coming years as we continue to build on that and encourage some planning around that as well. And then finally, I wanted to show you this map up here in the top left corner. What we had happen was we said, look, we know that the peninsula is going to be the ones more desirable places to live in the United States in a climate change world. A New York Times report looked at every county across the country for key climate change factors and basically said Clallam, Jefferson, Grays Harbor, Mason counties, these are in the top 2% of counties to live in anywhere in the country. And our assumption is that is one way to look at it as climate refugees, even more so than we're seeing today. And I don't think we want to be a community that puts up walls and say, you aren't allowed to move here anymore. But we do need to make sure that we build a community that can be resilient to this. And so what we had them do was to look at current county zoning and current plans, put an Office of Financial Management population growth projection onto a map, have our cities absorb the same ratio of citizens that they have today. So let's say if Sequim has 5% of the population, it would continue to have 5% of the population. And then put a black dot on the map of every site where you are allowed to build a home and just randomly fill that. This is the map you get. And it shows you what, without good planning, some of the changes we could see in our community. And I think we have some work to do to help make sure that map looks like we want it to in the years ahead. Another project we did in partnership with our friends at Jefferson Land Trust and the Trust for Public Land was to do a comprehensive study that looked at the economic benefits of conserved lands here on the North Olympic Peninsula, specifically right here. We received some great funding from the legislature to help make this happen, as well as some others. But just maybe a couple things I would point out is on the North Olympic Peninsula, there are over 1,400 farms that generate $29.4 million of farm products annually. That's something we want to really see how to maintain. I also really like the one about health benefits. And this is just about due to pollution control, but you can do some algorithms to say, if you have this much conserved land, what is the impact on people's health, and how does that impact the cost of healthcare? And that was estimated to be $25.8 million a year in benefits to the community from conserved lands such as Olympic National Park, state parks, federal forests, and conserved lands like those provided by your local land trusts. And really kind of points to why the beauty and the integrity of our place has big economic benefits. So it was a real pleasure to work in partnership with Jefferson Land Trust on this. And we look forward to continuing to create future projects separately together to really make sure that we're keeping this place a strong and beautiful place for generations to come. As the year moved on, we started into a little drive to say we recognize that our rivers are core to our community. Our rivers are the health of this place. They have been for millennia. And we have some opportunities to do real positives in our river systems. And so we did a little campaign, raised some funds, and as a result, we're able to make sure that the Clallam River Conservation Area, a property out right in the community of Clallam Bay, that is 70 acres and will be open to the public soon, so it's not listed yet. We made sure that we have the stewardship funds to take care of that. That photo looks pretty beautiful. However, if you squint, you realize you're looking at Japanese knotweed and the invasive species that just went through out of my head that they were talking about with the conservation district that Lorrie just told me was reed canary grass. Thank you, Lorrie. And so there's currently weed eradication going on this property, some access trail being built, and another place for people to enjoy some of the absolute best habitat in our community. We're in the process of conserving some land at Wild Edge Farm on the Elwha River, and this helped provide some of the funding to make sure that was going to happen. And then finally, this year, we were able to purchase some property from the city of Port Angeles right along Ennis Creek. And it's a 6-acre piece right up next to Highway 101. And the theory on this was, thanks to landowners like Jim and Robbie Mantooth and some others, there's a conservation corridor along Ennis Creek that is really, I don't say this too loudly very often, but the last chance for salmon in our region. The reason I don't say it very often is I don't want to encourage people to head down there with a fishing pole. But this is a fabulous, fabulous watershed. And in the coming years, the Department of Transportation will be replacing the culvert underneath 101. And then there's the work being done at the mouth of Ennis Creek at the Rayonier, former Rayonier site that really has the potential of improving habitat in that area. And we wanted to make sure this property that was owned by the city didn't really feel like they were the best stewards of it from an ownership perspective, and felt the land trust would be better at doing that, and basically asked us to acquire the property, which we did so. It legally had to be a purchase, so we bought it for $1, and appreciate the city for working with us to make that happen. And this campaign allowed to make sure we have the funds to make sure that this property is well maintained forever under our ownership. We do not currently intend this to be a private place to really be encouraging a lot of visitation without a guide, because it's pretty sensitive. And it's right in an urban area, and we really were looking to create a way to protect the creek in that area. So give us a call at some point. We'd love to take you down there, but don't be looking for a trailhead too soon. I'm also very excited to share some of the things going on at River's Edge along the Dungeness. Lorrie and I were chatting before this got started. It was in late 2018, a group of folks from the county, the land trust, and the tribe, Jamestown Clallam tribe, we're looking at this piece of property. And so here we are looking at it from a drone from the south. Thank you, John Gussman. And we were looking at this piece of property down adjacent to all this other conserved land. And we noticed that there were, even in an area constricted by a tight levee on both sides, there were all this Chinook reds, nests for laying the eggs into. So it's very productive for Chinook, and we know these are the species that are feeding our local orca population. And we knew that we were talking about this property here, but to the north, the county was getting ready to do a big floodplain restoration where they were going to move the levee back. And what we said was, gee, that property is really subdivided in a way that we're kind of nervous about what might happen. We understood the landowner would be willing to sell at appraised value. They had a number of family members that had become owners of this property. They wanted it to stay in farmland, but they needed to get full value from it, and were willing to work with us toward that. And so we had this meeting in December of 2018 and said, well, Jamestown Tribe Land Trust, why don't we just buy River's Edge? And if we did, we could make this happen. We could find a way to conserve all of the farmland and restore as much of that floodplain for salmon habitat as possible by moving back the levee. And during that conversation, Randy Johnson with the Jamestown Tribe said, well, gee, you know, I see that in this process, we'd be taking some current farmland and turning it into habitat. I'll tell you what, for every acre that the Jamestown Tribe and the Land Trust convert from farmland to habitat for fish, the Jamestown Tribe will find enough money to conserve 2 more acres of farmland. So for every acre we lose, we'll raise another 2. So we're like, okay, this sounds wonderful. Let's see if we can make it work. And what happened was, this was what it looked like there in mid-2019. And by March of 2020, we bought the property. Thanks to 250 local donors who raised $400,000, thanks to the state who provided a good chunk of money to the Jamestown Tribe to help with the purchase, and a loan from Sound Community Bank, an excellent, very donor, borrower-friendly loan. We bought that property, and as a result, our intent, and this is a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's kind of true. This is what we avoided, and so pretty big win there. And this is what we were headed towards. And you'll notice here that the riparian zone is heading out into the farm field. Well, so it has now happened. We've bought the property thanks to another Land Trust Alliance Doris Duke Charitable Fund gift, as well as some land transfers and property sales and things to get everything in the right ownership. We now have made it so the Jamestown Tribe owns everything by the river. Dungeness Valley Creamery is still our neighbor to the north and owns a 40-acre farm. And today the Land Trust owns the 40 acres on the south and is conserving that, and then will sell it to the creamery to expand their business. So the business grows, like 15 jobs that are there, that continues to be strong. This habitat is restored. And as a result, because all the assets the Land Trust bought were sold, conservation easement, the land, we're going to be leaving that with about $500,000 to move on to the next project to do this all over again. A win-win-win. And I have to say that when you partner with our friends at the Jamestown Clallam Tribe and you want to get something done, away they go, because this is what it looks like as of October. So the construction on this brand new levee that you see there, I think it got started in late July, and it's done. It is such an honor to work side by side with a crew that can make these sorts of things happen. So if you squint and go forward a few years, you can imagine that the levee trail along the tree line, that's going to get removed, and the new trail will be this trail today in the middle of a field. However, the forest will be growing on the western side and the farm fields on the eastern side. At that point, the river can meander anywhere in that area. In addition, to the north, that already was going to be having some levee setback, and it's over almost 2 miles of river habitat and it's over 220 acres now that are opened up for new fish habitat, all as a result of this project and the amazing donors in this group. It was pretty exciting. A few weeks ago, Governor Inslee came down to check out the work. And so you see here a presentation with us, the tribe, the county. You can see Vice Chairwoman Lonnie Grinnell was part of the welcome. It was just a real honor to have the governor really note the power and value of this project. As we move forward, there's a whole suite of these projects that are lining up. That's coupled with the Jamestown tribe already delivering on the funding for that 2-to-1 promise. $1.2 million has been promised to this effort, thanks to some funding from Floodplains by Design, the brand new Clallam County Conservation Futures Fund, and as well as this brand new Farm Pride program that we're starting to hear about from the state of Washington. We are poised to see pretty much a doubling of the pace of farmland conservation in the years ahead. So if you know of interested farmland owners who might want to see their farm conserved, now is the right time to contact the Land Trust, because we are going to be moving. I also wanted to note that through the real generosity, we are going to be coming in now as we start this new strategic plan with a real financial strength that you're going to see some additional investments from the Land Trust to really continue and grow our impact. Part of that was really made possible this year by our pivot away from Harvest Dinner and yet another year of Harvest Farm Shares. And here you can see we're really able to gather and provide local food to the community through these. Thanks to the food bank, we're really helpful in getting these all put together. And then moving along 50 of these farm shares to Olympic Medical Center. And that was for it to get distributed to the staff of the hospital that are slammed in dealing with COVID. This is the janitors, the nursing staff, folks that are really, they had a list of folks that are struggling to help make their families get food on the table while they're at the hospital every day, just getting slammed by the Delta variant. And we wanted to make sure they had fresh food to go into their pantry. And so this is us with the hospital commissioners delivering the food. And then passing them on out to the rest of the community at sites in Sequim and Port Angeles. So that was another, just a fun thing this year. Some great corporate partnerships continue, where Sunny Farms is doing the Roundup program. Windrose Cellars now has a brand new wine called River Red. Notice 2 Ds of a salmon nest of a Cabernet Sauvignon, which a portion of the proceeds go to the Land Trust. And this year we found out that Botanica, a candle and soap company out of Florida, just picked us and said, we'd like to support an organization like you. And they're giving the proceeds from the sale of their Rainier brand of Botanica candles. They just give that over to the Land Trust, and has been just a fabulous partnership. Those are just a few examples of all the amazing ways that support happens. So with that, I did want to just say one other thing of a huge thank you to our board. And I'm just going to name them because I should. Karen Westwood as the president, David Morris as the current vice president, Wendy Clark-Getson, our secretary, Steve Burkett, the treasurer, Bobby Clausen, Erica Lindholm, Ron Puff, Kim Sager-Fradkin, Richard Tucker, and Jim Williams. I'm sorry, Jack Williams. Sorry, Jack. We have an emeritus seat there for our man, Gary Colley, and an emeritus seat in memoriam for John Willits. And it is such an honor to work with that group to move things forward. I am particularly pleased to have our friend Richard Tucker serving on the board, who is also the executive director at Jefferson Land Trust, and we're on each other's boards to help make this strong. I also need to thank our staff of Mike Ogie, Michelle Canali, Courtney Bornsworth, Alex Wilson, and then the two people behind the scenes tonight making this all happen, Delana Lopez and Paula Hunt. It is a pleasure to work beside you every day. And so with that, I want to say, please, thank you, and please thank you for all your support in keeping this land trust in operation. The operating of this organization happens because of the generosity of the community. The big capital grants allow us to buy land and do things, but it's this community's financial support that keeps this thing running and humming. And y'all are great. Thank you. And with that, I'd love to see if anyone wanted to have any questions, or we can take people off of mute. You can raise your hand. Feel free to actually, if folks want to come off of your hiding yourselves and you can all see each other's lovely faces, and happy to answer any questions or keep the conversation going. But again, thank you for joining us for this year's annual meeting as we continue to surf the world of COVID. Delana, were there any questions in the chat that I maybe want to do while we see if people have a question or a comment? Okay, I did see that Liam had some questions around, I'm going to change my screen so I can see people, that Liam did have some questions around how to get disposable, or we do disposable plant protectors, and it looks like that's not a great idea because they need to last at least 5 years, and so biodegradable isn't quite work. But and so go ahead and why don't you just pull it off, and away we go. Oh, Jim and Robbie, what's your question? Oh, there you go.
Okay, I was just going to comment.
Oh, good.
Many years ago, I wondered, because the annual meeting came up and there were 2 or 3 people there. And so I'm just a little historical perspective from us. And it's just, it is so exciting to see how far things have gone, and especially all these plans that are coming up in the future. And I'd love to see our community really known for the things that the Land Trust stands for the place that's taking care of our very wonderful natural resources.
Absolutely. And it was interesting with having the governor show up about a month ago at the very last minute. Since that time, immediately contacted by the state leadership of Fish and Wildlife, wanting to do the same tour the governor did, our state legislators wanting to get out and do the same tour the governor did. It really, there's a lot of buzz. What we're hearing out of Olympia right now is that the Olympic Peninsula is a place where diverse groups of folks, tribes, land trusts, counties can all figure out how to hold their hands together and make landscape scale conservation happen, which is kind of flattering to be hearing from our state representatives. What else? Oh, question in the chat. Oh, I'm not seeing. Oh, there we go. RMDs. Thank you, Liam. So yes. So one option that's out there for folks as people approach the age of 70 and a half, and if you have an IRA, it will require you to do a mandatory distribution, that you have to take a certain amount of money out of that each year. If you're in that situation and you're someone who's charitable, I would suggest to never again write a check from your checkbook to a local nonprofit. Your donation should come out of your RMD to make sure that you don't end up having to pay the taxes on that. It basically just comes straight out of that and is a tax-free donation. So you don't have to take the income tax when you take it out of your IRA. It just goes directly to the nonprofit. Liam's question was, is that really showing, is it showing positive? I'd say a huge yes. It was interesting when the tax changes happened, prior to the changes in the tax code, about 30% of the population was itemizing. So you had this incentive to donate and get your tax incentive through your itemized 1040. Now with the changes in the tax code, only about 10% of the population itemize. So that incentive has become less. And I've noticed in that time, we've really seen people pivot towards using their RMDs to give, because it's a more tax advantageous way than anything other option they have. It has led to some very nice year-end surprises as well that keep this all moving. Oh, and thanks for the clarification, Megan. The tree protectors at the Lyre CREP project, oh, they were recycled from an earlier project. So the idea is that they might not be biodegradable. We actually want them to stay solid. So we keep moving them forward and just take them off and move them to the next project. So great clarification, Megan. Thank you. Anything else? Well, with that, I'm going to let folks go. I do know I appreciate y'all for hanging in there through the world of COVID. I am looking forward to us being in person again. I'm thinking of the conservation breakfast a few years ago with 400 people overflowing in the room at Burn Burton, and really together celebrating these things. And you call it an annual meeting and throw it online. I know it's a poor substitute, but it's part of our culture and our history, and it's so great to have y'all here and celebrating in it. As I look around who's in this group, it is just a wonderful folks to be working with for the future of this place. And so with that, let's call it a night. And thank you all very much. We look forward to seeing you all sometime very soon.